Okay, hello. Let's start the board meeting. Thank you guys for your patience. It's now 6:14 p.m. on Wednesday, October 7th, 2022. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. It is with my pleasure tonight. I'd like to address our opening item A3, introduction of our student ex officio members for the 22-23 school year. They are here this evening, and I would love for the public to meet them and let them introduce themselves. We will then have them attend our next work session where they will be on the dais. So first, we have Jennifer Nwazu. If I mispronounced your last name, please correct me. Can you please come up on this stage and tell us a little bit about yourself? Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. So this is the Board of Education. Hello, good evening.
Oh, it's good? Okay. Hi, the board. Hi, everyone. I would like to start off with thanking the board for this amazing opportunity. I would also like to thank the students for picking Nico and I as your student representatives. So to start off, I have been in the school for 5 years now. I started when I was in 8th grade. Before I start, oh my gosh, my name is Jennifer Wills. As you all know, I am a current senior. And to start off, some of the clubs that I've been in, or I'm going to be in this year, are Black Student Union. I played basketball and will be playing basketball this year. I am also part of Key Club. I'm proud to say that I am the vice president for this year. Also, I have been in Lasso, the school play. I'm going to be in drama club this year too. That's just the few things about me. And going on to say that, I'm so sorry. This is like, no,
It's okay.
Oh, next thing is that I would like to talk about our student body and how our students are. Class of 2023 and the Woodland students are a very diverse school. However, despite our diversity, we are a strong school. We stand tall, we stand together, and we are very helpful to one another. So I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank the parents, and I am very fortunate and ready to be voice of the students. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. So we look forward to seeing you. And we also have Nico Lorente Valen. And Nico, we ask you to come up and tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Nico. I'm also a senior. Like I said, I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to do this. Not a lot of schools do this, and it's really valuable to have this opportunity to connect the student body and the board members and the people that run the building. So I think it's really important that we had this connection. Like I said, I play soccer, I swim as well, and I golf, so I do sports year-round. I'm part of the band. I'm also involved in a couple clubs as well. So I think it's really good that both of us, we have a wide range of we're involved in a wide range of activities, so we're able to, see different aspects of the school and provide our viewpoints on the different roles that we're part of. I was also involved in the student council for the past few years, so I'm used to these sort of opportunities. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity as well, and I think our class and the school as a whole, for the past few years, we've had a lot of, limited opportunities because of the pandemic, and I think we're really excited this year to finally start, doing some things that we've missed out on, and we're excited to, just begin a new school year in general. So thank you.
Thank you, Nico. Can you tell us how long you've been at Greenberg Central School District?
Yeah, I've been here since Lee of Jackson, so.
Wonderful.
I don't know how many years that is, but,
okay,
yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay, thank you, board. Let's move on to, and we will see these wonderful young people at our next work session. If they can make it, we heard they're very busy. So hopefully the next night of our work session in October, they'll be able to make it, and if not, we will see them at a regular meeting. And next, we're going to move on to our reports and public comments. Number one, we have committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Trustee Warner?
I don't have a committee report, but the hard copy of the report that I gave at the last special meeting, you should now have in your in trays. It has the advantage, of course, of having photographs of the facilities tour that we had. The next meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee is September 14th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to try and locate it here at Woodlands, but we'll also try and offer the ability for people to attend remotely if they want to. So we'll set up the links, and we'll also have a physical presence. That's it.
As a reminder, Trustee Warner, that committee is now a committee of the board, correct?
Correct. So anyone from the board who wants to come can come. There's no quorum problem. You're not required, but it's there for you if you want to come.
Wonderful, thank you, and we're going to notice that as a meeting, right?
Yes.
Just in case. Yes, Trustee Vallon, do you have a report or a question? Okay, wonderful. You're done with your report, Trustee Warner? Wonderful. We'll move on, Trustee Vallon.
Good evening. Regarding the Audit Committee, it is a committee which meets anywhere from 4 to 7 times per year sporadically. We are seeking 2 individuals to serve as public members of the committee. I will refer you to Policy 5572, which is in reference to the Audit Committee. I'm just going to read a few extracts here. Persons other than board members who serve on the Advisory Audit Committee shall be independent and shall not be employed by the district, shall be an individual who within the last 2 years shall not be an individual who within the last 2 years provided or currently provides services or goods to the district, shall not be the owner of or have a direct and material interest in a company providing goods or services to the district, and shall not be a close or immediate family member of an employee, officer, or contractor providing services to the district. The Audit Committee shall consist of at least 3 members who should collectively possess knowledge in accounting, auditing, financial reporting, and district finances. They shall serve without compensation, but shall be reimbursed for any actual and necessary expenditures. Okay, I just read who cannot be on here. Members of the Audit Committee shall be deemed district officers, but shall not be required to be residents of the district. The role of the Audit Committee shall be advisory, unless the Audit Committee consists of at least a quorum of board members. In this case, I believe we have 3 board members as members of the committee, so quorum will not be present. Anyone interested in serving on the Audit Committee should contact me, Chris Vallon, CV as in Victor, ALIN, at greenbergcsd.org. And please submit your interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vallon. Are there any other committee reports? We do have a meeting date, Dr. Macaluso, for Education and Wellness Committee. Remind me of the date, because I don't have it in my head. Is it 22nd? October 22nd?
We do President Mayors. I was going to remind the community during my update, but it is September 22nd at 6:30.
And that is also a committee of the board, right?
Yes, and it will be in the Innovation Lab.
Oh, in the Innovation Lab. That's the when you come in Woodlands downstairs.
The library, the left side of the library.
All righty, and that's open to the public as well to attend if they'd like to be on the Education and Wellness Committee. Are there any other committee reports? Hearing none. I'm going to move on to my president's report. Yeah. Oh, Trustee Vallon.
I am not a member of this committee, but I do want to give notice that the Community Engagement and Communications Committee has a meeting scheduled for next Monday, September 12th, and unless that's been changed. I don't know if there's I believe the chair is not here currently, which is why I'm mentioning it.
Trustee Warner, are you on that committee?
I believe I am on that committee, or at least I expressed an interest.
According to the calendar, the meeting is scheduled for next Monday at 7 p.m. at Lee F. Jackson School. I believe if that would be changed, that the calendar will be updated. Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Has anyone, do you know, Trustee Warner, have you guys communicated about that?
I have not received any information yet, but we'll go ahead and have the meeting.
Okay, so Trustee Thomas will be here a little later in the evening, so maybe we can clarify that when we get back from executive session for any confusion. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Trustee Valen. Are there any other committee reports? Hearing none, I'll move on to President's message. So I just wanted to say welcome back. We've had our first day of school. It was very fun and exciting. Lots of people had some difficulty getting on our schedule again, you know, bed early, getting up early. Of course, we had the usual back to school random issues, like sometimes, you know, there was bus route and et cetera, and those are things that happen every single year in every single district. Positively, I did hear back from parents that they got great responses when they outreached to our bus contractor, Frank Gunn, which has been wonderful. So that was very positive. We did have some technology issues. There were some issues with the phones that I believe has been resolved, right? On the first day, though, which of course causes a ton of anxiety for parents, but we made it through. And from what I hear, everyone's pretty happy. They were able to communicate definitely through email if needed with the school. There were also some, I guess, concerns. I believe the pages on the website for the individual schools are updated as far as contact information. So I believe that but Dr. Iverson's writing, so I guess she's going to check to make sure, yes, follow up, because that was something that some parents had concerns about. But other than that, we've all been in school full-time, very excited, which is wonderful. Sports have as well started. We did have preseason for the JV and varsity teams, and then this week was the first, week. We've had our first football game last Saturday, which was wonderful. First volleyball game. I'm not sure if there was a soccer game as well. Wonderful. First soccer game. If I'm missing any other sports, please throw it in, of games that we've had. Modified sports, I believe, are going to start next Monday as well for the 7th and 8th grade middle school kids, which will be wonderful. Homecoming is going to be very early this year. We do have homecoming in September, which is September 17th, not this weekend, but next weekend. And trustees have been invited to come to homecoming. Trustees traditionally show up. We also have our administration that show up, which are nice. This year we are going to have Trustee Thomas, who volunteered to do some of the grilling for the senior class. I'm pointing to our two seniors that are in our audience, so that will be awesome. I'm also going to help in any way that I can, but you will see some of us around to the public, so if you want to say hello, you can say hello. Also, what else did I want to share with you guys? Oh, that we're going to be having some committees of the board this year, which we just talked about, the Finance and Facilities Committee, as well as the Education and Wellness Committee, and that's just because we've had enough trustees express interest in being involved in all those committees, so those committees will be open to the public, and they'll also be open to the possibility of all trustees being in attendance. We will discuss later on in the evening tonight, it is on our agenda to have a discussion about about our committees on the board, just so that you guys can see the process and how it plays out, and what committees we're going to keep and what committees we're going to move on from. So with that said, I will move on in the agenda. Our next report is from our superintendent, Dr. Iverson.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. Yes, We've had a great first couple of days. Welcome back to all of our faculty, our staff, and our students. We have had a great couple of days. It's just been very inspiring to see everyone in the classrooms, in the buildings, and it's just been an energy that I have felt all week. So it's been great. We're looking forward to a great year. I did have the pleasure of visiting every building so far this week as students were getting off the buses, settling into their classrooms, sitting on the rugs, families and parents dropping them off. They're getting off the buses. I visited classes and saw evidence of teaching and learning. It's just a great couple of days. And, you know, these are the moments that we just have not been able to do the past 2 years. So it was just refreshing to get back and to see that and to walk around comfortably and see the smiles and see everyone excited. I'm looking forward to this year. By way of a couple of announcements I wanted to bring to the community's attention. Again, you've heard me mention this several times, but want to make sure you know we are still this week, as Trustee Mayor says, this is the first week, so we want you to know if you have any concerns, any problems regarding transportation, please make sure you reach out to Frank Gunn, our transportation coordinator. He will resolve those right away. It's been relatively smooth, a little bit of snags, but he's been very expeditious in responding. Please know you can continue to reach out to him. Second, I want to remind parents again, it's not too late to submit your application for a free and reduced lunch. This year, parents must apply for that. The free lunch program is no longer in place since COVID is no longer the reason why the government did provide for that. So we want to encourage you to do that. Don't just submit it. If you need to know where it is, you can go on our website or contact Lori D'Amico, and she will also be able to help you with that. I had a couple of questions around COVID, and I will be sending home a message this week. We will be resuming my weekly messages starting this Friday. So what I may be saying now, it may be repeated there. But in my communication, if you remember back August 29th, I did advise that there were no new COVID mandates for schools, as announced by our Governor Hochul, and that the Test to Stay program has been eliminated. In fact, this year, 2022-23, they have even eased up a little more to provide more flexibility for schools around COVID. So to summarize, individuals exposed to COVID-19 are recommended to follow the CDC's guidelines that the exposed individual wear a well-fitted mask or respirator for 10 full days, and get tested at least 5 days after close contact or sooner if symptoms develop, but quarantining is no longer recommended. Individuals who are symptomatic and or test positive are asked to follow CDC's isolation guidance. The CDC continues to recommend that if you are sick, stay home. The isolation period may vary based on one's symptoms, so you see a lot of flexibility there. Staying up to date on your vaccinations, of course, continue to be the leading public health strategy to combat the COVID-19 virus. Testing also continues to be the best practice. It is our intent as a district to continue to distribute tests to families prior to our vacation breaks. This is again optional. There is no reporting results back to the district. There's no reporting to the health department. We will send out information prior to each break for those families who would like to pick up a test kit. You'll be certainly welcome to do that. But we are waiting on the confirmation from Westchester County Department of Health to make sure this will be an option for us. I did submit a survey indicating we are interested in doing this. They're surveying all districts right now. No confirmation we will be able to do this, but we are interested in doing that. We did submit and have available for any family who wanted to pick up a test prior to school beginning. They were available in our lobby last week. Finally, you know, Mr. McCoy asked that I say to our public, we know our grounds are available. We have people on our tracks, and we all love our dogs. I have one myself. If we could just be mindful of cleaning up behind them when they're on school property, that would be appreciated. And again, a warm welcome. I want to just say welcome back to everyone. I hope you enjoy some of the pictures you're going to see in my weekly update this week coming out on Friday of our amazing students, faculty, and staff this week in the buildings. Look forward to sharing that with you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. Trustee Washington?
Yes, hi. Thank you for the report, Dr. Iverson and Trustee Mears. I just had a couple of parents and have some concern over technology within the high school. Wi-Fi issues still happening, connectivity, having access to Promethean boards, smart boards, that might be what's here. So I'm just wondering if you can just kind of speak with our technology department, printers, different things just not working like they should for the first and second day of school. Also, just concerned in reference to our homecoming being very early this year, September 17th, right? So just really making sure that our seniors have a wonderful experience since it is very early. There's a lot of prep that usually happens with the senior class. They usually get senior t-shirts and, you know, they decorate, and it's not that much time for them to have it, but I'm hoping that their experience will not be cut short because of the time frame. And just as we are looking forward for next year, looking at the calendar and maybe not having homecoming in September can be something, you know, moving forward. And I'm so glad you brought up the grounds. I had basically I was taking a walk on the track, and there was a pile up of like garbage cans, and some of our signs that maybe say no trespassing are very rusted. So if we can kind of look at our grounds and start to upgrade our football field, of course we want everything done, but if we could just do some of the details and just to kind of like make sure that we are all having top-notch experience as a community, because I just went for a walk and I just saw certain things, and I just really feel like if we just take a little bit more time with our field, it would make all of us have a lot more pride in our school.
Yes.
So those are just some things. Thank you so much for your report. I just wanted to bring out those concerns.
Thank you, Trustee Washington. And cleaning up the field is something that can be done. That's not something that needs, you know, we don't have to pass anything. Yes, yes, that can be, yes, I agree. Thank you. Any other comments, trustees? Any questions? No? Dr. Iverson, thank you as well for the report. I would just mention I do have some great concern about the dogs on the campus. I've brought this up, you know, in other venues. I have a dog. I'm a dog lover, but I have seen multiple incidents of dogs off leash running through our fields. That does provide concern for me, especially with the children being back in school. I do not want our soccer players, our children doing, even frolicking through the field, having to walk through dog feces. I also don't think it's actually safe to have dogs off leash with children running around. Even the best cared for dog may react, and we don't want any incidents. So I don't know how we deal with that other than signage. But our campus is educational environment that is paid for by taxpayers. So we want our campus to be open to the community, but we don't want the children to run through feces. We want to be able to use our fields. We don't want our grass ruined with dog urine or anything. And I have a dog, so I bring my dog to campus. He's on a leash. He usually stays in the car, but when I take him out, he's on a leash. So I do have some grave concern about that.
Thank you. I will, you know, we will follow up. I'll meet with Dr. Macaluso and Lisa Raymond, and we'll talk about these. I have them down, and we'll check into them. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Warner, you made notes of the things Trustee Washington talked about the field, too, for the Facilities Committee?
I've got rusty signs and check the trash cans, and generally look at the field and look at what needs to be updated.
And would you like me to email you the pictures that I took, just so you can have a visual?
Sure, we'll pass it on to the Finance and Facilities Committee.
Okay.
The full board and administration also received an email very late this afternoon about our tennis courts as well. I know that was brought up by our students last year, the state of our track and field, as well as our tennis courts, and what plans are in place to try to help improve those.
Right, so that's phase 2. That's the high school element to be added to phase 2, and that's the next thing to do. We have all of these different projects in process, and then back behind that, we have to go for the next phase, and that's one of the things that gets folded into that. I believe these students selected the track as the thing most in need of updates. So we're looking not only to clean it up, but to change the surface so that you don't have shin splints and all that kind of thing. You have a more rubberized surface.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Do you want to reply to that email when you see it? You're on it.
If you want me to.
I would love for you to. Thank you. I do think there's an overall concern, though, Dr. Iverson. I think you definitely heard Trustee Washington that we really take pride, though, in our campus, in the way that we present our campus, specifically with our athletics. So that's what we're talking about tonight, with our fields, with our football field, with our track and field, with our tennis court, and how we present things. You know, things should be painted. Things should not be rusted. You know, score sign should be working. I don't want to go to homecoming and see the sign not working again. That will not make me happy. So if we could definitely at least take care of those little things, that'd be great. Let's move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Personnel, 6:40 p.m. Dr. Macaluso.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Trustee Mayers, for the opportunity to give an update today. So I also, too, would like to reiterate a big welcome back to our Greenberg community, and in particular, all of the teachers who have already hit the ground running with implementing some of our social and emotional learning initiatives. And I also want to highlight some of the work that we've already started doing with summer reading. And so just today, we had a guest author visit by Tom Rogers. He presented some of his thoughts around the book 11 that the 7th graders wrote, talking about his experiences in life and really helping the students to remember to think about different ways that they can be heroes in their own life, but then in the lives of others. So thank you, Ms. DeAndrea, for organizing that opportunity for our students, and to all of the teachers who have already started implementing the curriculum and instruction initiatives that we wish to take place this year. Second piece, I'd like to go ahead and give an acknowledgement and thank you to our tech team, and a shout out going with our SEL theme of the year of giving shout outs and issuing shout outs where they are warranted. So while Friday, September 2nd was a vacation day, or was the beginning of the holiday weekend for the Greenberg community, our tech team was busy at work putting the last finishing touches on technology in the buildings and distributing technology to new families. And so while we acknowledge that we are not always able to catch every little piece, and we will continue to correct those issues that we still have, we do want to recognize their work and give them a shout out for their commitment to the Greenberg community. As we have heard from two of our trustees, I want to remind the community that yes, our homecoming is going to be Saturday the 17th at 1:30. And so for our Greenberg family, please put away your spring Falcon gear and start taking out your football gear. We look forward to that game. And I also want to give a shout out to the Highview PTA that is encouraging their community to come out to the homecoming game. So for all of the other local PTA units, please encourage your school community to do the same. And we look forward to that being a nice welcoming for the entire Greenberg community. As Trustee Mayers did mention, our first Education and Wellness Committee meeting, again to reiterate, is going to be on September 22nd, Thursday at 6:30, live here in the Innovation Lab. And I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that. I will hopefully be presenting to the community our 3 through 8 ELA and math data, if it is available at that time, along with some additional data that may be available to us at that time, and also allowing parents the opportunity to use that as a Q&A session where you can ask some questions about anything that you might have related to the data that's being presented, and also how you may continue to support your child at home. And the last piece I would like to include in my update for today is a brief overview of the District Comprehensive Improvement Plan. And so with that, I believe we are going to transition over into the visual. Trustees, I have passed around a very short presentation that I'll be using for this session, so hopefully you had it. There should have been enough for everyone to go around, and so I'm getting my cue that we are going to drop to the audience, board members, and the screen will come down so that the community that's watching at home can view that, and we will take it from there. So let's give a quick little transition, and then we'll move back up to the stage. There we go. So for members of the board and the community, I've put together a very quick slide deck on this, but by all means, the full DSIP, District Comprehensive Improvement Plan, will be posted on the Curriculum and Instruction webpage once the board votes on approving that for today. And so a little bit of a context for those of you who may not have heard the acronym before. District Comprehensive Improvement Plan is a process that's used by the state education, New York State Education Department, to ask districts to look at their practices a little bit of a different way as a result of some data that they've analyzed. So back in the 2018-19 school year, after our students completed their 3 through 8 mathematics and ELA assessments, the state analyzed the results and found that there was disproportionate outcomes for one particular group in our district, in particular students with disabilities. So anytime we see a situation where a group of students are not performing at the same level as the others, by state requirements, we're asked to look at the practices in place and put a corrective plan in place. But at the same time, for Greenberg Central, this doesn't mean that we are only doing this because it's a state compliance piece. It's something that's allowing us to leverage our PLCs and use it as a way of really looking deeply at what we hope to accomplish. So what is a DSIP? As I mentioned, this is a New York State Education Department accountability process. And what it essentially says is school districts take a look at your data, dig deep into thinking about what is the root cause of why your data is demonstrating the evidence that it demonstrates, and then what are you going to do about that. The nice piece that we have here in Greenberg is we already have professional learning communities in place where teachers naturally look at data and they take a look at trends, and then they look at their practices and think about what they're doing in order to help change that process. Usually it's a process that happens in spring, early summer. We are pretty much around the same track for that here in Greenberg, a little bit delayed, but not necessarily a challenge. State Education Department, prior to presenting it to the, or at the same time rather, as presenting it to the board, we are also required to submit this plan to State Education Department for feedback, and so that process has already taken place as well, and the state has given us very minimal feedback indicating that they're pleased with the plan that we hope to put in place. And so this is just a little bit about the improvement planning process, and I've referenced there for you where this comes from on the State Education Department. So very quickly, we did involve a full range of stakeholders in this. So you see we have 2 teachers on the team, school leaders identified as principals, 3 of them on the team, district leaders, we had one parent liaison, specialists / consultants. We partnered with BOCES, Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES for this work because they do have a specialization in the area of supporting students with disabilities. And then we had 2 cabinet members on the team. And this was the best thinking that the team and the stakeholders put forward, and here are the things that we hope to accomplish. So in the first area, we are, with the support of the Board of Education, we added resource room to our programming for students with disabilities, for special education students this year. We are piloting that in the middle school. okay? If there are students who also are in the 9 through 12 area who receive resource room services, they would also be impacted by this. So first and foremost, we want to really make sure that we're designing a robust resource room program so that students are really maximizing the benefits of that and using it as a way of strengthening their academic skills. We'll be implementing some specific ways of teaching in resource room called specifically designed instruction with the goal of by June 2023, we are aiming for 100% of our students with disabilities who receive resource services, making a full year's worth of growth in both reading and mathematics as measured by our iReady assessments that we use beginning of the year, middle of year, end of year. So why is that important? Because we have all those interim checkpoints, so we already, once the students take the exam at the beginning of the year, they have projected growth. So by mid-year, we're able to see where are they in the path to that projected growth, and then finally at the end of the year, we're able to do that as well. What's not captured here that we'll also be doing is putting some specific interventions in place for students with disabilities in the content area of mathematics to help us reach that goal. The second piece ties directly to a state test measure, and that is improving scale scores on the New York State exams for 3 through 8 mathematics. And so that is for 3 through 8 in general, not just students with disabilities. Because 3 through 8 mathematics assessment results tend to come out very late, we wanted to make sure that we had a measure of success that we would be able to actually have a better handle on by June 2023. As I mentioned in my update about EWC, we still do not have state results yet for 3 through 8 mathematics and ELA exams. And so for that reason, we still want to make sure that each student is making a full year's growth in mathematics using iReady, but we are also looking at increasing the percent of students who are performing at grade level standards. So that would be our broad scope practice for 3 through 8, and that also ties in nicely with the work that we're doing with targeted leadership and our PLCs. To remind the community, we have landed on our change idea, or the thing that we want to change about our instructional practices, as helping students be better problem solvers. So we are already putting pieces in place whereby teachers rather are planning their instruction so that students look at a problem multiple times to read the problem, to understand it, think about a plan that they will use to solve the problem, and then check to see if the answer that they came up with makes sense in relation to the problem. And I was going to pause for a second because I thought I saw Trustee Warner pop his hand up.
Okay, so I may have on that second goal, for the all students, you said a full year's growth and then the 10% increase each year for the end of your iReady assessments. Okay, so you've got improving scaled scores of NYSED 3 through 8 mathematics assessments. So what's your pre-test for the 3 through 8 side? That's my question.
So that's where it becomes a little bit tricky, because for a student in 3rd grade, we do not have a pre, but for a student who's in 4th grade, our pre for them would be the BOI iReady, but we will also look at their previous year's state exam, because what that does is it gives us a scaled score, and it gives us their bands. So let's just say, for purposes of illustration, but not actually the state scale, let's just say scale 1 to 10 is a level 1. So we would look at the child's scale score, and we would say, okay, that child is at a 7. So what are the strands in mathematics that the student is performing the weakest in, so that we can get that 7 to bump up to, let's say, a 12, because then the 12 would be the next band for a level 2. So that's what we mean by this. While we always strive to have our students reach level 3 and 4, which is considered at or above grade level, we also have to recognize that if a student is at a level 1 for whatever reason, a full year's growth is considered going from a level 1 to a 2. We will always continue to try to push the child to a 3 or a 4, but we also want to recognize that a year's growth is moving from that level, from one to another. Don't want me to do that. Got you, Trustee Mears. Okay. The last piece that we want to focus on for the DSIP is continuing to leverage the strengths that we have in the district with respect to reading interventions. So taking a look at those reading interventions that are already in place and focusing again on students with disabilities. Not that we would limit the work to that, because if you look at the right-hand column, the measure of success is the way that we've created an entry point for that, or how we will help students become better at closed reading strategies and questioning is through our teacher practice. So we want to take a look at teaching practice in particular in classes where students with disabilities are placed, and work with our staff to really make sure that they're perfecting their practice using the Danielson framework and the questioning and discussion techniques. So we will start the work there as we continue to push along throughout the school year and build capacity in our staff to facilitate conversations with students whereby they're asking higher-ended questions through reading that they're doing. Then we would naturally push that out into other classrooms. But that is the area that we want to focus on, again, because back in 2018-19, we were labeled a target district. That's the nomenclature from the state because of our students with disabilities. And so once that happens, we would stretch over into the other content areas. I did not mention this earlier on, but I want to clarify for the community, we are a target district with no identified schools. So we do not have one particular school that performed lower than any other, but as a district, our student with disability population, when you look at it in aggregate, did not perform as well as our other student groups. And so that is this brief, quick presentation on District Comprehensive Improvement Plan. So I know that there are other few questions that are popping up.
I have two questions. First, going back to the math, I know that we've just implemented a new math curriculum beginning this school year, is that correct? And that's for grades 3 through 8? Or K through 8. Okay, and when we chose that program, we were making sure it aligns not only with NICED guidelines and just the preparing them for high school math at whatever level that individual student may need. Where am I going with it? I guess I'm always a little suspicious when conveniently the curriculum we choose is by the same provider as the testing metric. So I want to be sure that the curriculum we're choosing actually fills the students' needs for mathematic education overall, and not just to prepare them for the test that happens to be prepared by the same company, to be blunt. Okay, so we considered the whole child and the whole education process in that choice. And then after that, if you want to respond, that's fine, but I have a second question after that. Okay, and then the other question I had was about the first point. You were talking about measuring them with iReady, and we're only talking about right now grades 7 through 12. Is that because those particular students are still using iReady? Because normally iReady ends after, I think, grade 8. So I'm wondering if that student population is still continuing to do the iReady diagnostics after grade 8, if we're looking at grades 7 through 12 resource rooms. Thank you.
So the first question I'll answer is with respect to Ready Mathematics. And so one of the things that I had presented in a previous meeting that I'll be happy to resurface for the community is when we took a look at the previous, and I want to also clarify for the community and for the board at large that a purchase program is different from curriculum. So our teachers own curriculum, they design curriculum. The materials are what they use to help students access the curriculum. So when we took a look at the previous program that was being used and then some of the other programs out there, I don't have the research in front of me at my fingertips, but we did look at some research that was done a few years ago by a reputable non-for-profit that looked at several programs that were put in place. And so Ready Mathematics was one that scored probably 9 out of 10 or maybe close to 10 out of 10 in several key areas, which was access points, so making sure that it had entry points for our multiple different types of learners, whether they're language learners, students with disabilities, students who are visual, tactile, so on and so forth. We then took a look at the alignment to the state standards, so our previous program was minimally aligned to the state standards, and so the new program, again, is close to either 9 out of 10 or even a 10 out of 10 for alignment to the standards. And then the other piece that we wanted to be conscious of was also the online instructional pieces that were available, because one of the things that we had with our previous program was very limited online access. And while we certainly are not going to remain in virtual learning mode as we were during the pandemic, we want to always make sure that should we have any kind of weather-related emergency or things of this nature, that students would be able to access the material at home. And so that's another added component that we had for the program and why it was selected. The other piece that you brought up regarding the 7th to 12th, you're absolutely correct. We do terminate using iReady at the 8th grade. It can be used for 9th grade, but we've made a decision in the district for both reading and math that we do not want to use that program for 9th grade. We may use it for students who are struggling to get a little bit of a better picture at how we might diagnose their needs. And the reason why we captured this as 7 through 12 is because while resource is something that we were piloting in the middle school, should we have a student in 9 through 12 who qualifies for it, we do want to measure their growth as well. But it would not be using solely the iReady. We may use it for some diagnostic purposes, but we're also looking at some other pieces as well. And the DSIP is also meant to be a fluid plan whereby we track it through periodic points throughout the year. So if we do find that after programming is settled and we have students in 9 through 12 who have resource, we'll go ahead and revise that to put a measure of success that would be used for those students.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Macaluso. I think, this is helpful. People were waiting to hear some additional information, so this is great. I just have a couple questions. So first, I know you said we're a targeted district with no identified schools, but you also said that in 18-19, it was our students with disabilities that had concerning performance, I guess, on some of the state exams. So that was in all of the schools that the students with disabilities performed with a concern?
Correct. It's an aggregate of all of our students with disabilities.
And then, and this is, I guess, a general question about New York State. Hopefully you can answer it. Why do they require for us to follow up with a DSIP if it's just one particular area of the students? Like, for example, in my mind, which I'm not an educator, I would think that we would maybe get additional funding or additional requirement to change programming for our students with disabilities if that's the group that is scoring low. How come they require the entire district kind of do this improvement?
So the reason why we're required to do it for the entire district is because the population that is targeted is spread across the schools, if I'm hearing the question correctly. But to follow up on the other piece as well, there is additional funding that comes from the state for this. It's very minimal. For our district, it's $50,000, and so budget has been developed for that and has been submitted to the state. And what we hope to provide, if it's approved by SED, NYSED, New York State Education Department, is to provide some after-school math and ELA programs for our students. It's still yet to be considered by them, and that would be offered in all of our schools, Lee F. Jackson all the way up to Woodlands, if it is approved.
Thank you. And also, I'm wondering, just out of the box thinking, I would love to hear, like, if we maybe structured, I don't know if it would be our staffing differently or something as well with regard specifically to our students with disabilities. I like that we're coming back to resource room to try that, because that is something concrete that I can see that we're doing a little bit differently. Is there anything else we could do? I know that we lose a lot of staff. There's a lot of turnover when it comes to TAs that are people who are even one-to-one sometimes that deal directly with our students with disabilities. Is there anything else on the board level that we can do to maybe approve some hires faster or something to give supports for our students with disabilities? This is an important population.
Sure, that's a great question, President Mears. I know Dr. Iverson has some plans of having some discussion with the board regarding some of the items that you brought up, in particular teaching assistants. And so when she has that conversation with you, I'm sure we'll continue to have ongoing discussion about how we can continue to be partners with that. But the other piece that I want to speak about that you brought up is what we're looking at with staffing. And something that's not here that we're continuing is the work that we did with the previous year's DSIP, which is really strengthening that co-teaching model model that we have. So for those of you who are not familiar with the model, here in Greenberg, we are fortunate in every grade level to offer integrated co-teaching, where we have students with disabilities and general education students together in the same homeroom. However, there are two teachers in the room, a general education teacher and a special education teacher. So we're continuing to do some work. When I referenced the slide that had our partners on it, so that's over here, Specialists and Consultants 3. That was work that we did last year with Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES and looking at how we strengthen that co-teaching model. It's the same model we use for English language learners, where we have two teachers in the room at the same time focusing on both content and access points. So that is something that we would continue to do. And to answer your question, I would certainly suggest to the board that we continue to look at that ICO program, integrated co-teaching, and continue to strengthen it. From a staffing perspective, we are pretty good right now, but I know Dr. Iverson has also mentioned that Ms. Raymond and I will begin budgeting conversations pretty soon, and so if there are any things that come out of that conversation with respect to integrated co-teaching, I'm sure Dr. Iverson will share that with the board so that you have a heads up as to what we're thinking.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other trustee? Trustee Washington?
Thank you very much. Okay, so you had to create this report because in 2018, we were a targeted district. So this is a plan from New York State for Greenberg Central School District. When basically is the plan over?
That's a good question. So things have been trickling out of the Office of Accountability in State Education Department. They have mentioned that they are somewhere in the process where they will reset the designations. We haven't received official notification yet of whether or not that would mean an immediate termination of our status, or it means continue out the year, and then they will take our 21-22 data and then use that as a spring point. But they're just starting to push that information out now, but nothing specific has come out yet.
Okay, and since we are a school of accountability, let me ask you a question, because New York City, my school, I literally have my scores for ELA and math. Why does Greenberg Central School District not have the state scores? What's going on?
It's really nothing that's Greenberg specific, and I smile because I too was a former New York City teacher, and I remember come May, my principal would hand me my scores and she would say, this is what, I was like, wow. And then I left New York City and went to districts in Westchester and realized that that's not the same. I'm not quite certain how that happens, but it's not something that is unusual for a district outside of New York City. They do have their own data warehousing departments that somehow can extrapolate, but I can't speak confidently about that. But certainly, we are not alone in not having our results yet.
So even when I was an administrator in Greenberg, we would have our state data in August. So that's why I'm wondering why we still don't have it, and if you can question New York State and find out what is the delay, because we should have our state scores. You might know other neighboring districts that don't, but what is the holdup? If New York City has it, if normally we would have our state scores in August, because at the administrative retreat, we would always get our state scores. So that's why I'm asking that question also.
Sure.
And the other thing is your focus area around resource room, because you just said co-teaching, can you add 2 different focus areas, or are you only allowed to do one for this type of report? Because co-teaching, that whole model and building up the capacity of the teachers really sounds like something that can improve instruction.
I have my full template up at my seat, so I'd have to go back and look at that. But again, that's something that, should we decide that as a learning community we want to include that, and sometimes we're limited by a template, and that's just kind of the nature of the template, but I'd be more than happy to look at that template and see if we do have space for that, and then speak to the constituent groups about how we might add that back in.
And so the last question, in reference to the resource room 7th through 12th, right? How many students, and you might not have the number, but how many does that truly affect? Meaning, how many does it really impact? How does that really help our scores or to show growth if only 5 students have a resource room? I'm not saying 5 students do, but I know resource room wasn't something that a lot of students had, at the high school level and middle school. So I'm just wondering, how many students are we really impacting with that goal?
So at max, it would be 25. Resources a 5-to-1 ratio, and then a teacher contractually may teach 5 sections of that. And so currently, I don't have all of that information right at my fingertips, but I believe we are close to at capacity with that, meaning that the person who is staffed for that has a full caseload, and I believe Mr. Smith has also divided it up, so instead of having one resource teacher, he has two people doing parts of it, which is great because now they have opportunity to plan together versus it being one. But from what I understand, our numbers are pretty much close to at capacity where we are servicing 25. And to go to your question about the group, I'd have to also take a look at the percentage, because let's just say across the district, and this is not the factual number, if we have 100 students with disabilities across the district, we're a very small district, right? And so 1,600 kids, I believe our students with disability ratio is somewhere around the 20-something range. So it's a chunk of...
That's why I was asked, right.
Yeah.
So if you're impacting 25 students, and if this is our district goal, you know, we would want to maybe impact more students so that you can show a greater growth when it comes to the percentile.
Oh.
So that's why I was bringing that up when it comes to resource room. Not to say take it off, but it's something to think about as a district. If it's 20 students that have resource room, what does that really look like when it comes to that state data? So, and then the last thing, for you, tell me 3 to 8, we say 3 to 8 assessment, 3 to 8. Are we not allowed to say pre-K to 12 because we're really just targeting 3 to 8? Or because when we say all students, I'm just wondering, as a district, should we be looking at pre-K to 12? Or should we just continue to focus just at the 3 to 8?
Those are questions that I ask often of the learning community, and one of the things that I can appreciate being here in Greenberg is that teachers are pretty much committed to doing something well and then having scalability. So, you know, there's been some opportunities where I've asked us to do things, you know, larger audience, and, you know, taking in mind the scope of the work that we're doing with everything, we just decide to scale down and be a little bit more concentrated so that we can learn the work, learn it well, and then scale it in a way that is meaningful versus doing it big and then maybe making mistakes that we didn't want to. I mean, mistakes you learn from them, right? But sometimes when you go big, you make a mistake that sometimes you wish you would not have made, and that's just a natural part of trying something new, right? So that's why we made a conscious decision to focus on specific areas, or specific groups, rather.
Dr. Macaluso, in our first measure of success, I see it says 100%. That makes me nervous.
we better get it done. It's 25.
Okay, all right. So as an educator, you're saying you do feel it's possible. Now, these children are older. They're 7 through 12. So you feel like it's possible to get them a whole grade level, full year growth in reading and math. 100% of the kids in resource room.
We do, and here's why. Because that's saying a full year's growth. And so what that means is we may have a child, and we have to recognize that a child is where they are. That is where they are. And so we may have a child who is a 7th grader in resource room whose performance is at a 3rd grade level, for whatever reason it may be. What the research also says is that for that child to grow in 1 year, that child will be exiting at a 4th grade level. Still not at grade level expectations, but has made growth. So that's where the fine balance kicks in, where developmentally, 1 year's growth is 1 year's growth. That's what schooling is about, right? And so if we can stretch them beyond that, that is always our goal. But for that reason, we feel that we can do this because it's taking that diagnostic and saying, this is where this child is, this is where we need to get them, may not be at their grade level where their peers are, but for that child, that's where their growth had to be.
Last question from me. I think I know this answer, but since you're giving the presentation and you're on camera and anybody can be watching this, I want you to clarify. How do we get a 7th grader that's possibly reading on a 3rd grade level? How does that happen? Does that happen outside of Greenberg? So can you please talk a little bit about that? Because people will watch and think, oh my gosh, so how can you share a little bit of information about that, please?
So it is not a Greenberg thing. It is not an any district thing. The fact of the matter is that students come to us how they are with a number of different things. A child may be born with something that causes some kind of a cognitive delay, and so for that child, growth is a lot differently. There may be something physical for a child that has caused them to not grow as compared to their other grade or their other age level peers. And then there might just be some other pieces. A child may be physically capable, but the child may have a reading disability. The child may have dyslexia. The child may have something that is causing them to have a barrier toward that. And we also have to recognize that that child probably has a strength in something else, right? And so that's always the fine piece of it. But no, that is not a Greenberg piece. That is something that is a natural part of society, is a natural part of any community, whereby some students are less prepared for the demands of their grade level just because of a lot of different variables. Some of them have traumas. Some of them experience homelessness. There's lots of different pieces that are part of educating a child and helping them reach their maximum potential.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? I asked a bunch. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we will move on. Are you done with your presentation, Dr. Macaluso?
I'm all set, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. The time is now 7:14. We'll continue with our presentation from our Assistant Superintendent of Business. Thank you. We're going to go back to the stage, though. Okay. Ms. Raymond, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, please give us a report whenever you have a moment.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Mayers. As you know, the R.J. Bailey Elementary School Gymnasium and the Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium both are completed and done. I received a letter yesterday from DASNY, which is a division of New York State that will be financing our auditorium work. They gave us another letter of approval that the money that Assemblyman Abenante put in for the Greenberg's Central School District was approved. So now I am working with the architects to complete some more documents, so that we'll just push it further ahead so that we will be able to continue that work and get the auditorium done as soon as possible. The main hallway flooring at LF Jackson is completed. The emergency access from the nurse's office to the parking lot at Highview has been done and is completed. And then drainage by the bus van access was also installed to prevent water pooling. I'm not sure if you noticed, but when you go past DCP, you'll see that the front sidewalks have been replaced, and there's also another section that was blacktopped. That was all done Friday and Saturday of this past week in anticipation of getting school started. And the drainage by the kitchen was rerouted by running a new pipe so it doesn't flow across the sidewalk and freeze in the winter. As far as the cafeteria is concerned, we have processed free and reduced lunch applications for the last 2 days, and we are at 41% free and reduced. We processed 46 applications and 544 direct certifications. We're still receiving applications. Actually, we can receive applications up to the last day of school, so we encourage everybody to fill one out and send it in. The student PIN number, I know that that was a concern. All students are identified by a PIN number for breakfast and lunch if they choose to participate. The students enter their number, and it will show on the register. At LF Jackson, the names are provided to the cafeteria workers, and they input those students because those students don't know their number. At Woodlands Middle High School, Highview, and R.J. Bailey, the students do know their number, and they enter it. There were a couple of glitches the last 2 days, and that was just new students didn't know their numbers, or students had to be given their number so that they could enter it themselves, but things are running much more smoothly. As far as transportation is concerned, unfortunately, we are still short 6 drivers and 7 monitors. Frank is working diligently to try to hire people, and he has been creative with some of the routing to accommodate all of our students. As far as after-school transportation is concerned, because of the lack of drivers, we're going to try and have a 4:30 bus for modified sports and extracurricular activities, and a 6:30 bus for varsity sports, all dependent on the drivers. Frank is trying to coordinate and get drivers to do this after-school transportation, but he's meeting some resistance. We are hoping that starting tomorrow, there will be a 6:30 bus for sports, and next week, we will start the 4:30 bus for modified sports, and once the extra classroom, extracurricular activities start.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from trustees? Yes, Trustee Pineda?
Thank you. Ms. Raymond, can you remind me, in previous years, some parents have decided not to fill out a free and reduced lunch form thinking, oh, I'm not going to qualify for free and reduced lunch. But I remember there being a discussion that there still is a benefit to the district to having that information. Can you please remind us what that is?
Yes, we encourage all parents, whether you know, even if you know that you don't qualify, to fill out an application, because that helps us with a lot of our federal grants. Any other grants that we tried to go for, they always almost ask how many free and reduced applications, how many direct certs have you had, and how many applications did you receive. So we encourage everybody to, and I will say that I have seen some of the applications come in, and people are starting to fill them out knowing that they aren't going to qualify, but they're helping the district to try to secure future funding in other areas.
Thank you.
That's very helpful. Any other trustees? Trustee Washington?
Can you please let the community and parents know where they can access this form?
The free and reduced application is on our website. You can get it off of there. You can get it from under the food service tab. And if you can't find it there, just call Lori D'Amico, and she will either email you one, or we will put one in the mail to you, or we could get it to the school to get into your child's backpack.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Raymond. Are there any other questions? I mean, Ms. Washington, are there any other questions by trustees? I just have one about the new gyms. So there are, you said at R.J. Bailey and Woodlands Middle High School. I did see the Woodlands Middle High School gym. I haven't seen the R.J. Bailey gym yet. Does the Woodlands Middle High School gym has varying lines for different sports? Do they do that in the Bailey gym as well? Do they have different sports lines? And
There are lines, yes, there are lines at the R.J. Bailey also.
okay, so we're able to do different sports in that gym the same way as this gym, or no?
I don't think it's as intricate as this gym.
Okay.
But there are lines there. I mean, I don't believe that they have the volleyball lines.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but I know, well, and that gym is much smaller.
Right. I'm sorry, Trustee Warner, I heard talking. Was it you going to say something?
We're saying the same thing that she's saying through the mic. It's much smaller, so you can't spread things out as much and have as wide a variety of things. But you can fully use all the spots on the R.J. Bailey gym floor. There's no soft spot in the corner anymore. So we have that to our advantage.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I'm sorry, I heard noise over there. Thank you so much. Okay, next on our agenda are public comments. And we have one public commenter today. That would be Miss Katie McGee. Can you please come to the mic, Miss McGee? And you have 4 minutes. When you start speaking, we will count down your 4-minute clock to speak with the Board of Education this evening.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to say welcome back and thank you for all the summer work you did to make the kickoff happen this week. I really appreciate it. I know the SEL committee met this summer regularly, as well as the board having several special meetings. And I appreciate it. I'm happy, I'm excited for all the good things to come this year. My daughter had a really good first 2 days of being back at Woodlands, and so it's just great. I'm also excited about the ex officio members too, and welcome to them. And I wanted to thank whoever was responsible for the long-awaited webpage update of the RJB staff directory. Some of you know that that was something I was wanting to be updated for a very long time. And I want to thank Dr. Macaluso because he's the last administrator that I spoke to before it actually happened. So thank you. I want to encourage everybody in this room and watching to join a PTA unit. If you haven't done that this year, because you do it every year, please do that. You can find links to each PTA on the GCSD website under Parents and Students, or you can go in through the About to Community and you'll find those links. In fact, when the board goes into executive session, other people who aren't in there might be a good time to go and sign up for the PTA. Also, after that, you could check out the athletics department page and go to Squad Locker and buy some athletic wear or hats or whatever. Some of them have an express availability or something, which is great because maybe you could even get the gear in time for homecoming. The last thing I just wanted to mention is that people should join the Facilities and Finance Committee, and I'm excited that it is full board. It is a full board committee, a full board meeting this year, since it's so important that we continue the momentum of repairing and updating our facilities, and each of you board members should be as involved as possible. And I think all of us need to keep up the momentum and put thought into how else we can find and raise funds to make all of these needed repairs and updates. As some of us know, there was a building conditions survey in 2020, and it came up with $89 million of work that needs to be done. Lastly, I appreciated Trustee Washington bringing up the conditions she saw at the field, and just a reminder that even without certain big projects happening, we can still do updates. I heard the students talk about the track and how the long jump area wasn't workable, usable rather, and I don't understand why that can't just be, how expensive can that be? Also, the amphitheater at Woodlands, I think we could do enlist students, PTA, parents, teachers, groups to update that area, even if it's just with a coat of paint. Okay, I'm sure I'm almost out of time. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. I just want to comment, too, on what you said with regard to the website and updates to the website. The board, I want to assure you, the board has been talking with administration about that. They do have a plan, and so we're going to continue having conversations and I'm not a tech person, but from what I'm told, it's layered, multiple different layers that you have to go into when it comes to redoing websites. So I am glad that the contact information, of course, is at least updated. Okay. I do want to deviate from the agenda just a tad because Trustee Thomas is here, and before you arrived, Trustee Thomas, there was a question about the CEC meeting scheduled on Monday, I believe the trustee said. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, Monday. And so there was an inquiry about whether or not that would be happening. So I just, if you could clarify for us.
I actually was literally, in the moment that you asked that question, looking for the schedule to be able to share. So if, I'm sure, if David said that it was happening Monday, then it's happening Monday. I was looking for it as we.
So the calendar states that the Community Engagement Committee and Communications Committee meeting will be held at 7 p.m. at Lee F. Jackson on Monday, the 12th of September.
See you guys Monday the 12th at Lee F. Jackson.
Wonderful. And so I don't know who's the administrator liaison. Is that you? I feel like there's someone else. Oh, okay. So then if we could just make sure between, I guess, you and Ms. Raymond that there's a building request form. I don't want you guys to arrive, or if I can make it too, or people to get there and the building's locked. So we'd like to get in. That would suck. Yeah, we're not used to that. Thank you. I'm sorry to put you off guard, Trustee Thomas, with that one, but I figure I should ask you now while people are here before
Thank
they
you.
leave.
I was like trying to find the first date.
Okay.
Wait, so President Mayers, is it possible that we can ask for all the meetings, the building request forms just be done, since most of them are on the calendar? Like if it's just like one time, so no one has to ever worry about being locked out. Yes.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. I was just thinking that, and I just wrote it down. I'm going to do one facilities use for each committee and list all the dates.
Wonderful. And also, we could talk about, which I did bring up at some point, the trustees' ID badges. So in the past, we did have access to those buildings just in case there was ever a locked situation. Sometimes the front of the building might be locked, but the janitor's in there cleaning. Maybe for safety or security, they might lock the front. But at least if trustees able to swipe in and they arrive maybe a little early for the meeting, they could swipe in, at least open that door so while they're there to meet people. That could be helpful. But so we are still, I think, waiting and working on those ID cards. Thank you. Okay, no further ado. It's 7:30 p.m. Our next item on the agenda is executive session. Can I please get a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters and/or employee records being considered for board action this evening and a future meeting, and collective bargaining negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're in executive session, 7:31 p.m. I anticipate about an hour and a half we will be in session, so please check back then. Thank you.
I don't remember. I feel like we
Steve?
You're live.
Good evening. Wonderful. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It is now 10:15 p.m. And we're going to move on to item D1, board discussion regarding board committees. Last time we left this topic, it was the reorg meeting back in July, and we were looking at our committees. We decided to have our Educational and Wellness Committee and Finance and Facilities Committee be committees of the board, committees of the whole that will serve as district committees. Enough board members were interested in being on those committees. We do have some other committees. We also had made a decision to have the Governmental Relations Committee be an ad hoc committee. We do have some other committees. Trustees, have found myself on every committee. I cannot do that. So I'm going to step back a little bit and ask if anyone's interested in being on any other committees. There's the Audit Committee, Governance and Policy, Safety and Technology, and the CEC, Community Engagement and Communications Committee. I do see some trustees have volunteered, but everyone has time commitments, so I don't want to encourage anything. The only other thing I would say is that the Audit Committee meets only a few times a year. Trustee Vallon, you were chair last year. Can you give me a rough estimate of how many meetings you have?
Anywhere between, let's just say 5 and 7, roughly.
Okay, 5 and 7 meetings per year. Governance and Policy also does not have to meet every single month. Safety and Technology, are you guys every monther? Typically every month. And CEC, do you guys meet every month?
Yes.
Thank you. That's also a monthly meeting. Okay, so we also kind of have to... Huh?
What committees need people?
So right now, so I can come off of any committee. The Audit Committee has 3 people, but can go down to can use someone. Governance and Policy has 2 people, and can use someone. Safety and Technology has 3, but can go down to 2. And CEC has, again, 3 and can go down to 2. And when I say that, that's I'm going to come off of, at least one of these committees. Trustee Pineda?
So, if memory serves me, there was one committee here that a trustee did want to be on, but they deferred to you. So if you don't want to be on that committee, I'm not sure if they want to reapply for that committee. That might take one committee out of the running.
Trustee Vallon?
I would be interested in joining Safety and Technology again, unless someone else wanted to. Someone besides Trustee Mears.
So Trustee Pineda, who's with Safety and Technology? What trustees are there?
Sure. So right now it is Trustee Warner, myself, and as of this moment, it's President Mears, but if she's coming off, then Trustee Vallon is free to jump on that one if she wants, or if someone else wants to jump on it.
Okay.
I will gladly come off. I will put you on Safety and Technology, Trustee Vallon. Does anyone else want to go on to Audit, CEC, Governance and Policy?
But it sounds like everyone has 3. So if we make one more, then it becomes a board meeting. So that's why I'm not really understanding the need for more trustees.
Trustee Pineda?
If I can clarify, I think what President Mears is saying is she wants to come off of as many of those committees as she can. And then that would free up the 3rd seat for another trustee to step in.
All right, so Trustee Mears needs to tell us what committee she's on and what committee she wants to come off, so then we know where we can put ourselves in.
So there's Audit, CEC, or Governance and Policy. I'm flexible. Okay, so Trustee Long is Governance and Policy. That makes 3 people on that one, which is fine. What about Audit or CEC? Is anybody interested in either of those committees?
I'm more interested in CEC.
Okay. So I'll stay on Audit, and I could do Governance and Policy, maybe, maybe not. Okay, sounds good. So we're on page 4, and we'll keep going. Now we have board liaisons. We have the school liaisons written here. We kind of did this by, I think, default. I don't know if everyone's happy with the school they have. I don't know if anyone would like to move around. We have
I would like to move around.
You want to move around, excuse me, okay. So trustee Washington, where would you like to move around to?
Would trustee Jamal switch with me?
Oh.
You have ECP.
Sure.
You'll take Highview?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so trustee Thomas is going to be at Highview Elementary School now, and trustee Washington is going to be at ECP. Is everyone else okay with their school? Do they want to try to somewhere else? I'll go through it again for anyone who wants the list. Currently, we have trustees Pineda and Warner at Woodlands Middle High School, trustees Along and Mears at R.J. Bailey School, trustee Thomas at Highview, trustee Vallon at Lee F. Jackson, and trustee Washington at ECP.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it policy or was it just practice that a parent wasn't the liaison at the school? Because when I wanted to be the liaison of the high school, I always said, we're not liaisons of schools that our children are at. Is that just practice or policy?
That has been practice.
Just practice?
Yeah, last year was the first year I was a liaison at the school where my kid was at. And this year I chose to go back to not doing that. Trustee Warner?
No, I wanted to volunteer for the PTA council liaison, but that's a different thing.
We're getting there next. Okay, let's move on. Moving us along. Thank you, trustee Warner. So you want to volunteer for the PTA council liaison. Does anyone else want to volunteer for the PTA council liaison? Anyone? You gonna do it by yourself?
Okay.
Okay, gonna come back and give us a report. You always do.
That's
I know
true.
you always do. Okay, let's keep going. We also have a couple of other liaisons listed. We have NYSBA Advocacy Liaison, WISBA, which is Westchester Putnam School Board Association Liaison. We have Westchester Putnam School Board Association Advocacy Liaison, and Southern Westchester BOCES Liaison. Does anybody want any of those positions? And there's brief descriptions next to each.
I will be the NYSBA advocacy liaison if no one else wants to.
Which one? Is that the NYSBA or the WISBA?
NYSBA.
NYSBA, okay.
I don't mind doing the WISBA
Okay.
with a W.
Advocacy or regular WISBA?
Regular.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And I'll stay WISBA Advocacy in Southern Westchester. Trustee Pineda?
And I'll back you up for those.
Okay, great. With Trustee Pineda as second. Okay. You have all that, Ivy, or you want me to send you my notes? You got it? Okay, great. Somebody's hand? No? Okay. Let's keep going. Wonderful. Next, we have the work session approvals. Can I get a motion?
I move that we improve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Section E2, personnel non-instructional items. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Section E3.
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item E4, pupil personnel services items. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the pupil personnel services item presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's move on to the review agenda items for the next meeting. Some of these items are executive sessions, so I will not be calling them by name, but by number. J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, J6, J7, J8, J9, J10, J11, J12, J13.
Question.
Yes.
For J13, Dr. Iverson, can we just confirm, I was looking at the list of equipment. I saw some Easy Lobby equipment referenced on there, no longer being needed at the high school. If memory serves me, we no longer use Easy Lobby, but I just wanted to confirm that that equipment could not be used anywhere else. I don't know if it could be used for lobby guard or anything like that, so just confirm that, please. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Moving forward, J14, J15, J16, J17, and that moves us to closing items number K, new business. Any new business items, trustees? Trustee Valen.
First, I'd like to just repeat what Katie McGee said earlier in public comments, that if you would like to support your school spirit here in the Greenboro Central School District, you can go to squadlocker.com and search for your school as Woodlands and look for spirit wear. You may also reach out to your elementary school PTAs. I'm sure they will be organizing spirit wear drives soon. And lastly, I'd like to tell of an opportunity. If you drive a car, if you are in the neighborhood of 100 and Hartsdale Avenue, there is a gas station there which has a giving pump, pump number 5, if you need to fill your tank. Through October 31st, a portion of all proceeds from pump number 5 at the service station at 100 and Hartsdale Avenue will go towards Woodlands Middle High School. Thank you.
Trustee Valen, can you explain that again? It's pump number 5 at the gas station 100?
At 100.
Route 100.
And, sorry, not Central Avenue. I apologize. Let me clarify that.
Okay.
At 100 and Hartsdale Avenue.
Do you know the name of the gas station?
I was trying not to give that kind of publicity, but
Okay.
it is, if you're walking on a beach, you may find these along the shore.
I can't. Okay. It's too late for riddles.
I
Okay,
will.
I got it. I'll figure it out.
I don't know.
I actually have a picture of the said pump that I will share with the board, and perhaps our PR team can put that on Facebook at some point.
And it has to be pump number 5
Pump number 5
only?
is the giving pump, and a portion of the proceeds will be donated to Woodlands Middle High School. Apparently, that promotion goes through October 31st.
It starts when? I'm sorry.
It started in August.
So it's already going on now? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if everyone knows that, so thank you for that publicity. Any other new business? Trustee Pineda.
So, I heard about this program that's being used by some other school districts for emergency crisis communication. Dr. Iverson, I'd like to ask you to just have someone take a look at it. It's called Crisis Go. And I think it would be very helpful for crisis communication and all those kinds of things if you want to have someone take a look. Crisis Go. Geo. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Trustee Thomas?
Yes, just an additional reminder that on Monday, the 12th, we will be having our very first community engagement meeting at Lee F. Jackson. I hope to see as many of you as possible there. I do have a question from a technical perspective. Will we be able to have this on Zoom as well? Like, will it be hybrid, or does everybody have to come out to Lee F. Jackson at 7 p.m.?
That's a good question, Trustee
Great
Thomas.
question.
I know that at Woodlands, we have been able to do hybrid because we tried it with the other committees this past year and it worked. I haven't tried anything at Leo Jackson.
I think the real question is, will we have access to technology? Will there be someone from the technology committee or the technology department to assist if we want to do that? Are we going to use a Zoom from Woodlands, from Greenberg Central School District? So those are all questions that Dr. Iverson can get back to us, because if you want to do something like that, we need the support to make sure we're in alignment with Greenberg.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing y'all.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? Trustee Pineda?
Just following up on what Trustee Thomas asked about, once we find the answer to that, how will the community know? Will we just update the calendar if it's Zoom?
It's my intention to send out an email on Friday, an invite to everybody, but everybody does not necessarily look at that. So I guess I can also put it up on Facebook. Net is this year, I definitely want to have a better means of communicating with everybody. So I'm not sure whether the district has resources that we can utilize, whether that's appropriate to have the district share that, so that as many people as possible know exactly what we'll be doing.
It would be nice to put it on our social media page.
And the
Facebook,
calendar.
Twitter, Instagram.
What did you say, David?
And the calendar.
And the calendar.
Okay.
Now, let me ask another question, Dr. Iverson. I guess we need to find out if are we able to do phone blast or text message, just to parents to say that there's a committee meeting, because we have that capability with School Messenger.
The only thing that pops into my mind with that is just the idea that if we do too much in that regard from a communications perspective, then some of the things that come top of mind may not come across to people. So we probably have to be somewhat judicious, and that within the I guess that's a part of the communications committee to kind of understand whether or not we want to utilize those tools for committee meetings.
Well, right. They will have to find out if we can. But research shows if you have multiple entry points,
right,
because everyone has their own, it really just builds more capacity. It doesn't mean you'll have a room full of people, but at least people know that we're active as a board and these committees are here. But multiple entry points, from social media to the website to text, it just helps people to become more involved and more engaged, and that's one of our goals. So,
and to your point, and this is a broader conversation than we'll have today, and perhaps it could be brought up to Dr. or Mr. Lease. Is it Dr. Lease or Mr. Lease? Mr. Lease. And there's ways to segment or to allow people to say, yes, I want it all. Communicate with me, send me every text message, and other people to say, I want the committee meetings, and the board meetings, but I don't want anything else, or I want snow days. So that's just something that we might want to consider, how we can be super responsive to people, how they want to be communicated to.
Okay. Trustee Valen?
Just moving on to a governance question. I've requested public members because public members are invited to participate in the audit committee. I believe our district committee, I believe our CEC committee is a district committee, so the board needs to approve public members of that committee, if I'm correct. And last year, Finance and Facilities was a district committee, and the board had to approve public members of the committee, but now that committee is a committee of the whole. Do we need to invite and/or approve public members of that committee, since it's structured differently? And if we don't know the answer today, could we find out from our lawyer before?
We have to notice it as a board meeting.
Say that
If
again?
you can allow a quorum of the board to appear at a meeting, then you have to notice it as if it were a board meeting.
Correct, but do we need to now approve members of that committee who are public members? If we can find out before
So-
next week's meeting.
So I can ask Carol, but from my memory, they
do.
were, we do?
We need to do it every year.
I thought, yes, but now that it's a committee of the board, that
The board
committee-
is automatically on the committee,
Yeah, that
then other
committee,
members need to be reapproved each year.
but does the committee act as an advisory committee to the board, being that the board is the committee?
The board is not supposed to take any action other than making advisory
For the committee
statements
action,
to,
right.
recommendations to the board as a whole.
Okay.
Regardless of whether there is a quorum of the board in place. And we need to,
So we still
we
need to go through the...
document that more carefully and completely in our
Yeah.
policy on committees. And legal needs to come up with verbiage for that, as we agreed at our previous meeting.
Okay, so governance and policy person, did you write that down?
Yes, I wrote it down, but just to
Okay.
clarify, members of the public who are interested in serving on the audit committee, the CEC committee, and the finance and facilities committee should indicate their interest so they can have their name submitted to the board for approval at a future board meeting.
No, it's audit committee, CEC, education, wellness now, which is a committee of the whole, which makes it a district committee, and the wellness piece makes it a district committee, and the finance and facilities.
Thank you for
So all
clarifying.
4 of those.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Trustee Pineda, trustee Long.
So do we need to put a blast out to request members for these committees, or are they already filled? And how does our community know they're available?
Yeah, trustee Valen?
One, we've been announcing it at our board meetings, and I will announce it in future meetings, but I would like to request then that because the board has a blast mechanism, that we draw up a little paragraph saying that we're soliciting interested public members for the following committees. And if President Mares does not have time to write a little paragraph, I will volunteer my time to do so. If you agree with the suggestion.
I'm always open, okay. Any other new business? I have a couple of things. I did hear, Dr. Iverson, I just want to share with you some feedback I did get from parents regarding openings of schools. So some newer parents, I think, had some concerns about the amount of security guards that we have, specifically at the Woodlands Middle High School, because it's a large building. I think there were some concerns about that and whether or not we have enough people to, keep external threats out, because it's a large campus. I did get a communication from someone. I did send an email about 2 district-wide programs, the previous STEM program that we used to have, and what was the other one? I sent an email to everyone, guys.
Spelling bee.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the spelling bee?
Yes, thank you. It was the spelling bee and a STEM program. So this particular person had some concerns because they did disappear from the district, and they did not want those 2 things to disappear, but also the benefits to the children to be lost. There also were some emails regarding concern or interest in financial literacy. I'm not sure if you saw those. I think you were on those emails. Okay. So
related to that, I believe that either Matt Smith and or Dr. Macaluso have a meeting next week with one of the representatives to have that discussion.
Well, thank you so much, Trustee Thomas. It's late, so I cannot recall, but so there is going to be some follow-up next week as a meeting. Thank you. So to the public, there has been some inquiry within the board regarding financial literacy, and Trustee Thomas has a meeting scheduled next week that you'll circle back and fill us up in?
Sure.
Great.
I'm not in the meeting.
Oh, you're not in the meeting?
No,
I'm sorry.
It's going to be
I misunderstood.
Mrs. Smith as well. Forgive me, I don't recall. It's either Mrs. Smith and or Dr. Macaluso.
Okay.
But
So we'll circle back in a couple of meetings and ask you, Dr. Iverson, what's going on with that. Thank you. And lastly, we did get an email from a board member a meeting or two ago about cell phone use. We talked about the fact that there is a cell phone use policy. Specifically, more so, I think it's seen at RJ Bailey and Woodlands, where kids have cell phones and how they can and cannot use those cell phones. I said it almost every meeting last year. I'm going to say it again. Please, parents, look at your kids' phones. Some children have phones as young as first grade. I can't afford that, but if you do, no matter what age they are, try to get a peek at those phones. The kids will tell you it's an invasion of their privacy, and on some level it can be, but you do need to know some of what your children are going through. They could be getting bullied, they could be bullying someone else. There's also some safety concerns as well. We want them to be independent, we want to trust them, but we also have to keep them safe. So please, or even have them show you, if it's not a privacy issue, hey, I'll sit next to you, let me see your phone. Try to, if you can get on social media, follow your kids on social media, or make sure they have their social media open to you so you can see what they're posting, you can see what people are posting to them as well. That is it. Is there any other new business? No? If not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Discussion.
It's been properly moved.
Discussion.
Oh, it's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I almost forgot. I think it was mentioned earlier, and if not, homecoming next Saturday, September 17th. Football game, I believe, kickoff is 1:30. Woodlands, 475 Central Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Please come to homecoming. And it was mentioned before that Trustee Thomas is going to be volunteering on the grill. The last time he did that, we had some good food. So hopefully it will be good again. And hopefully all trustees can make it, and administration and staff, and it will be an awesome party. So please all come out and support our schools. With that said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 10:42 p.m. Good night.
No problem. No.